Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling podcast. Today we've got an interesting episode. Sales has changed so much in the last 10, 15, 5 years. And what's really going in the wrong way is that we all have to do so much more data entry, that we have turned from customer-facing people, prospect-facing people, into data monkeys. And this is taking up a lot of time. And the state of our deals, the quality of our deals, and the quality of our selling is being judged by what's in the CRM versus what's in our head, our customer's head. And a lot of this is legitimate, but it's annoying. It's like, 60, 70, even more % of our time is spent doing this. I'm having Steve Woods back on the show. He's a CTO over at Nudge. What they've done is they've automated this with AI, the data entry into the CRM, the relationships, visualizing it, and putting the data in there. I'm going to talk through this today. I think you're really going to get a lot out of it. And at the very end, make sure you get you and your manager over there to give it a shot to see how it can really work into how you do things at your company. Before we also get into it, if you want your own CRM, pipedrive.com. It's mine. It's the one I use. It's super easy to use, and you get 60 days free with the Brutal Truth coupon code and video email. Oh, wait a second. Did I tell you this week on the B2B Revenue Leadership Show, I have the author of The Walking Dead on. And guess what we're talking about? That's right, zombies. No, not talking about zombies. We're talking about how to use stories, narratives to communicate emotion to your clients. Now, everyone, you hear story, and I equate story to meditating, where I can't meditate. Well, we all breathe, we all relax, we all take control over our body at some point in time, hopefully, or somebody else does. So we know how to do it, and we all tell stories. What happened today at work? How did you get into this job? What was college like for you? How was your weekend? And you tell a story. You start with a time and a place. There was a little bit of conflict, a little bit of drama, and then there was a resolution, and somebody's the hero. And that makes it easy to remember, to tell, and easy to remember for the person. And it changes this state. So make sure you check out that episode. It's one of my favorite. I'm sure you'll like it. Also, make sure you check out the show notes for all the partner stuff. At the very end, I'll sum up this episode and give you an update on what's going on in the courses. The prices do go up May 1st, so if you're interested, let's get you in. Get a whole year's worth of access all at once. You can pay all at once or pay monthly, and it's including one-on-one mentoring and one-on-one deal coaching. Unlimited. Let's get into the interview. I'll sum it up at the end. Hey, Steve, welcome back to the show.
It's great to be back, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Hey, in the past, we've done some deep dives on a lot of different issues. Maybe if you can give us a little update on what you guys have been focused on.
Sure. So we've been working with salespeople across North America. And one of the things we've done since you and I last spoke is we went deep into the data that we've got. So we've got what ended up being 3.1 million conversations between salespeople and their prospects. It's been fascinating digging in and trying to get an understanding of how do relationships actually form. What does it take to reach out? It's been super interesting seeing kind of what's intuitively correct and then what is a little bit counterintuitive. And so we looked at, one of the pieces we looked at was really interesting. What does it take to connect with a new prospect? And so new in this case is not necessarily cold outreach like you'd imagine in just purely a BDR sense, although that's included within it. This is any new individual. So the intuitive part is it takes a long time. If you're reaching out, shocking. It's 4 emails over 5 weeks for the ones that succeed. So, there's ones where you just go indefinitely and never get anywhere. But the ones that succeed, the intuitive sense of correctness there, it takes a while. It takes a lot of effort. What was interesting, though, was how high the ultimate success rates were. And we were seeing some numbers that were sort of in the 10, 12, 14% of the outreach ultimately becoming successful. Not on any one outreach, but if you try and connect with Sally Johnson, do you ever get through? And way higher than we thought it would be. And so we dug into the data. We're like, okay, the queries must be wrong, the analysis must be wrong, et cetera. And it wasn't. What was super interesting was if you looked into that, a lot of the success was actually the within account growth. You get that sort of that toehold, and then growing that account and expanding it out into other people. Shockingly, there you actually had a much higher chance of success. So it mapped back to kind of what we'd been hearing anecdotally, that the people who were actually generating revenue were the ones that didn't focus on this aggressive, 1,000 outreaches a day and just spamming the world. They were the ones that when they got that toehold, they worked it. They got to more people. They broadened it out. They went up the chain, down the chain, across the chain. And there you start seeing the success rates that really give you the sales results you're looking for. And
I think we all know that works, but I think sales leaders have really been pushing people for what you described, the 17 touches in 17 days, which is closer to stalking than selling.
we didn't get into the realm of legality around it, but I think you can
like legal description. And so why does this matter?
It's interesting, right? Because if you think about what you've got, and another piece that came out of this that's sort of related, and I'll tie this into why it matters, is the data's all missing in CRM. The other analysis we did was sort of, what do you have in terms of your interaction data? The people you're emailing and they're CC'd and they're on meetings. About 74% of that is missing. And if you think you're on the sort of the really bad disorganized CRM end of the spectrum, that's probably 85, 90% missing. So you've got all these incredibly highly paid people, and they're acting as data monkeys, right? They're being told to do highly ineffective outreach and manually log data. And these are people where their salaries are, $50K, $80K, $100K, sometimes even higher than that. If you've got AEs doing outreach, and this is taking all of your time, all of your energy, creating a ton of frustration in the team, and it's blocking that path to becoming a high-performance sales organization. If you want that high-performance sales, and then you look at the day-to-day activity where they're just grinding and doing things that don't create the value and don't drive those trusted advisor relationships, you're not going to go on that path to becoming a high-performance sales organization. It's blocked by that menial effort.
And I've seen this as well, because you get busyness getting in the way of productivity. And people, the dashboard has become the focus instead of the relationship and the interaction between the client and the leadership and the reps. Now, why are sales leaders doing this?
I think things move quickly, right? We want to have the data, we want to have the understanding. You want that foundation. If I can describe the world as sort of a pyramid, where at the bottom you've got just the raw data of what are the facts? Who are we talking to? What have we said? And then layer above that, what does it mean if you digest it? Who do we actually have relationships with? Who likes us? Who doesn't? Layer above that, what's going on in this deal? Do we have the buying committee? Do we have the right roles, the right engagement? Are the right conversations happening? And then above that, you've got sort of the pipeline strategy. What's happening this quarter? Do we have enough coverage? Which deals are at risk? How are we going to handle that? How am I coaching my reps? If it's that big kind of pyramid from raw data, it's not unreasonable to get stuck in the mud at the bottom. Because if you want to be strategic and have these strategic conversations, but you can't get there because every time you look at your pipeline, oh, what deals are at risk? I don't know. I'll have individual conversations with every rep and say, who do you know and who are you talking to? And they'll kind of go on gut hunch and recent memory, and then we'll realize that most of those people aren't even logged in the CRM system. So you get stuck in that mud naturally. The thing that's moving fast, though, is you don't have to. So that can and should, all those bottom layers that are grunt work, can and should be removed. And that's the conversation that we have with all these sales leaders, where we're saying, okay, how do you get to high performance sales? It's not about having that extra nuance on how you phrase something in the high value conversation. It's getting out of the mud so you can actually have those high value conversations. If you're having 100 high value conversations a month, you'll get better at that rather than one training session and only being able to have one high value conversation a month because you're stuck in that mud. So remove the mud. Yeah. And technology's there. Log the data, log the activity, measure the relationships, display the buying committee, all of that mundane stuff that you're doing manually and based on memory and in one-off conversations with management. Get rid of all of that. And then all of the training sessions you've done around how to manage a high-value conversation, well, now you got more at-bats. You can just do that.
And what makes that possible today?
Yeah, so here we are in 2019. Why are we having this conversation? So there's a couple of things, and this is sort of, we'll get into it, but this is one of those, like, you don't need to care about it. The wizard is behind the curtain. Don't panic. But I think one of the big reasons why this wasn't really easy to do kind of 2014 earlier, there's a handful of things. So like, noise reduction is one of them, right? If you look at your email and say, simple solution, we're just gonna take the email that all you that you interacted with as a sales team, and we'll log it to CRM. There's a lot of noise. 80-90% of that is it's info ad, it's your Amazon order coming in, it's people that aren't on your target accounts list, it's your support tickets, all of that stuff, 80-90% of that traffic. So first pass, wizard behind the curtain, don't worry about this at all. For any solution to actually deliver, you got to get rid of all the noise. And that's, it's a semi-interesting, difficult problem. And then you actually have contacts of humans. Well, then the next thing you want to do is say, okay, great, we can create contacts and we can log activities, and that's mildly interesting, but logging relationships and saying, how well do you know this person? Well, relationships, they grow, but they also decay over time. And so every time you have this interaction, you've got to reprocess and say, okay, what's grown, what's decayed? And it's just a scale problem that was kind of hard to do 10 years ago, and now the technology is out there, so you can measure millions and millions of relationships that grow and shrink over time. So there were a lot of reasons that it was technically a little bit tricky a decade ago, and in 2019 it's not. But if you're coming at this from the lens of a sales leader, if you're sitting in 2019 and saying, I'm going to ignore that changed reality, and I'm going to have my reps do all of this logging of contacts manually, logging of activity manually, gut hunch analysis of relationships in conversation, that's a bad strategy. You're going to be stuck in that mud.
And can it raise like red flags of, mismatch between forecast and realistic closing? Absolutely.
If you look at, I think every sales leader has had a happy-eared sales rep where you have, maybe you're selling something, it's an 80K deal, and you've had a bunch of great conversations with a manager or a junior director level person, and they're so enthusiastic. We want to buy this. This is great. And so the rep puts it in forecast. It's going to close. I got this one. And then the quarter ends and you didn't close. Well, you were single threaded. In hindsight, that's so easy to see if you've got the data. How many relationships, how many of those are senior level execs? Do you have the right conversation? Have you chatted with finance and legal and procurement and all of the semi-blockers that you need to handle before a deal closes? Very easy if you have that bottom layer of data, the people, the roles, the relationships, you can very quickly say, oh, that's forecast to close, but you've only got one junior level relationship? Tell me more. That seems a little fishy. So it's quite easy. The challenge is if you're looking at 100 deals and saying, I've got 100 deals here, I know, on average, we're seeing sort of 20 to 30% of forecast to close deals that are single threaded. And you can know that as a sales leader. No, there's 25% of this is going to be single threaded, it's going to be garbage. But if you're going in manually and saying, okay, deal 1, talk to me. What do we have here? Who are we talking to? Deal 2, you just can't scale that. You can't spend your sales leadership time manually digging in, hunting for the small fraction that are single threaded. It's much better just to have the data bubble that up and say, this one, this one, this one, and this one, you need to go deep on them and talk to the rep and figure out whether they're just happy-eared or maybe there's some reason that it really is going to close, but it seems optimistic.
Yeah, because, I talk to reps every day, pretty much all day, and the number one thing is they complain about is their managers are KPI crazy, meaning that they want activity versus accomplishment. And we talked about number 2, which, everyone just hates mundane data entry. And a lot of the data entry is to make everything look the way the manager wants to see it versus the reality.
There's a lot of that. And what's interesting, though, is I think with most reps, if you tease that apart, they don't mind having the managers see that data, unless they're legitimately not doing their job. Yeah. Most reps out there, they're working hard, they're talking to people, they're doing the activity. They know the activity is necessary. The part they resent is the manual effort to create the appearance of the activity, yes. Right? That I talked to Jane Smith. Now I've got to go over here in CRM. I've got to create a contact called Jen Smith, attach it with the account, mark that I sent an email. Like, come on. Yeah. That's the part they resent. So just having that auto magically appear, it's on a target account. We know Jane Smith. Let's put her in there. Let's log that activity. Boom, done. The rep appreciates that. They don't mind the manager doing their job and saying, okay, great, I've got 25 reps and here's everyone's doing their job and that's wonderful. They don't mind the activity existing. They just don't want to have to create it themselves in 2019. Most reps they're young. They're sort of fresh out of school, in their 20s, maybe early 30s. They're used to technology doing mundane things for them. When they get into a sales environment and someone says, guess what? We're typing in contacts manually here. It's sort of well, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I think everybody wants that data, and they know with the high velocity selling today that, you can't memorize it all. You're doing more than 5 deals a quarter, so your notebook isn't going to be sufficient. Yet nobody wants to be a data entry person.
Absolutely. And you're seeing it's not just high velocity, but it's also broad selling. These accounts that we're selling into, the executives are getting the front line involved. There's all these different constituents. So if you map out the number of people that have ever been involved in, they were copied on email, they were added to a meeting, they were brought in on some side discussion of a side discussion, it's not 5 people in that buying group. It's 30, 40, and some of those may have a minimal amount of influence. Some of them might have a significant influence, but you're not going to manually create 30 or 40 contacts. That's just ridiculous. Somebody was CC'd on an email thread and you're not going to go in and log that. So if you want high velocity selling and you want broad buyer constituencies, that has to be automated.
And I think you're right. Email is not a great CRM.
It's the leading edge, though, right? Like that's where every new
that's where the information
contact comes in.
Yeah.
But it's a really bad repository for the long term. You got to go from, okay, who was CC'd? Right. Now let's put that in a nice ordered format and against the target account, and now we're all good.
Now, how much of this can be automated?
The lower layers there can all be automated. Just set it up, plug it in. What's our target account list? What are the rules that we want to make sure that the right people get in and the wrong people don't? 100% of it can. And you're interacting with the 1,000 accounts on your target account list. Boom, 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 boom. Here are all of the contacts your team's been interacting with. Zero effort, not even a click on their side. Can all be automated. It's 2019. This is all very, very possible. Same with the relationships. Who knows who how well? Great. Steve knows Brian. It's a medium strength relationship. Historically, the most it used to be very strong. That's decayed over time. All of that activity that can all be automatically logged.
And where do you see this going? I mean, there's logging the contacts, but then there's what to do next, what's at risk.
Mm-hmm. I think this is what makes sales more fun and more enjoyable. Sales it's a very interesting intellectual, psychological game. Understand the business, understand where they are in their space, understand how they perceive the things that you're offering and the competitors, understand all the internal dynamics and who is motivated by what personal motivator. That's fun. That's interesting selling to dig in on that and come up with a hypothesis and try some new angle. That's very interesting, and that's where sales can and should go to. You should have the conversations between managers and individual reps really be focused around, okay, what's the dynamic here? Who's motivated by what? How do we spark this point of interest around this business pain with this person? What's our strategy to get in and get presented to the executive team? That's good coaching. That's good learning as a rep. And it's fun intellectual thinking. And if you take care of all the bottom layers, that's the natural result. Everyone wants to be there. All of you bring in a sales speaker at your QBR to kick things off. They're not talking about how to manually log data. They're talking about the strategy and the intellectual chess game that is sales. The reality is then you get back Monday morning, 8 o'clock, and you're like, I wish I could do that, but I got to type in some contacts. So I think if you take care of the bottom layers, it goes there naturally.
And how does AI play into that?
What's interesting about AI, and we've been at Nudge, we've been an AI player for a long time, is don't think about AI. AI is a wonderful set of tools that should remain behind the curtain, right? You've got to sell. You've got to move up the value chain. There's a ton of AI that is working on all of the removal of manual work and all of those things we chatted about in terms of, how do you keep track of a person who moves from job to job and figure out that this Chris Smith is the same as that Chris Smith, and your relationship with Chris Smith 1 is actually the same Chris Smith and same relationship with Chris Smith 2, and all of the removal of the noise. There's wonderful AI doing all of that for you. But it's like taking an Uber. Do you care that there's a lot of AI algorithms that optimize the routes No, you don't. Like, get in a car, get to your destination, and pay a reasonable fee. That's what you want. And I think that's AI for sales. Don't think about autonomous robots and wonderful futuristic interfaces. Think about the manual grunt work that you're doing and think there's got to be a better way. We can get rid of this. And there's a system that uses a bunch of AI behind the scenes to make sure that you don't have to do it as a person.
And What will people get out of this? Both a rep and a manager.
I think to answer that, you really need to come to the level of what is sales all about? Why did we get into sales?
To make money.
But to make money, absolutely. And to play that sort of fascinating game of people and motivations and business all intertwined. That's what makes sales fun. And if you're good at that, you make a ton of money. So what people get out of this is the ability to be amazing salespeople, to take a team of junior folks and craft them into amazing salespeople by get rid of the grunt work and then focus all of your coaching and all of your learning and all of your doing on how do I sell better? How do I find that business pain and go poke someone in the eye and have them say, yeah, I didn't think about my business in that way. Let's talk further. That's selling. That's a sales career. That's the path to making more money. That's what we should all be doing and helping our teams do.
And that is the fun part, because I don't think anybody wants to spend time entering data.
I haven't met anyone yet.
Yeah, because we want the technology to work for us, not us work for the technology.
Absolutely. And the reason we hire humans in sales is because they're really good at building relationships with other humans. They should be out doing that. They should be on the phone doing that. They should be talking with customers and having those deep conversations as much of their day as humanly possible. Everything else is just wasted time.
And any statistics on how much time is spent on this stuff instead of selling?
Oh, God. It's we haven't got the final statistics on it, but it's insane. It's probably around 80% of the day is it's manual work. It's having conversations with management about things that should be right in front of them. It's logging stuff. It's doing research on things that the person next to you already knows. It's a huge amount of the day.
Yeah.
And so you just don't get as many at bats having those good conversations.
Cool. Hey, so where do people go to take a look at it and see if it lives up to all the expectations and get to play with it?
Absolutely. So we're at nudge.ai, NUDGE, nudge.ai, and come chat with us in all of the ways you'd expect, through Drift, through email, through the website. We'd love to have the conversation and show you what this is in reality.
Yeah, I think Nudge is onto something. That data entry and having complete, accurate, up-to-date information, more than you can type in, and have it be sensible, the meaningful stuff. That's what we all care about. We all want it because we don't want to go hunting and searching for it, cutting and pasting it. And then when it changes, how do you keep it up to date? Give it a shot. Try it. Go to nudge.ai. Look for automated data entry as one of their capabilities. Schedule a demo. Take a look at it. See if it makes sense for you. I think it will. Hey, to give you an update on the courses, the prices are going up May 1st. There's two major ones solving the two things that I hear most about. One is getting into cold new accounts. These are all B2B sales courses. And the other one is closing the complex sale. Let's say you get into the account, but guess what? The deal stalls, it gets smaller, no decision. How do you prevent all that stuff? How do you determine how it's going to close and guide the person through that process? And instead of it just being video content, which is a lot of it, there's office hours, which is a twice monthly 1 hour group meetup on Zoom every other Friday. If you can't make it, it's recorded and put into the course. So you miss nothing. Everything is recorded and put back into the course. So you don't have to be there at that time. You can make up any excuse you want. The only excuse is you're lazy. Let's face it. That's not really an excuse. It's just a characteristic. The other part is unlimited one-on-one mentoring, coaching, deal coaching, whatever you want to call it, where we get on Zoom, and we talk through applying the course to either getting into the account or closing the deal. It's all anonymous. You don't have to mention your name, your company, your product. Nobody knows who you are. I scramble your voice for and admittedly so that nobody knows who you are. And we don't turn the recorder on until you're ready. And after the recorder turns off, we summarize and take actions and talk about anything that is proprietary. So it's completely anonymous. Imagine having that capability. Boy, did I wish I had that when I was a rep. I wish I had it now. I kind of have a buddy now that I walk through deals with, and we make fun of each other. It's more camaraderie than coaching, but it does add value because you get to see it through the eyes of somebody else. Also, just check it out at b2brevenue.com. Go to the training thing. You can schedule a time where we can jump on the phone and talk it through, or you can just sign up, whatever makes sense for you. And it's not a membership. It's a year-long access. You get 100% access day one. You go at your pace. And if you're in B2B sales and you want to take your game to the next level and you're ready, I got to believe it's the best thing out there. Because what I'm doing is I'm committed to your success. The only thing I care about is you reaching your goal. And if you order either of the courses, I will give you a coupon code for this Questions That Sell course, which is a $500 value. Now, I've extended this to April. I'm cutting it off. No more. If you don't order by the end of April, you don't get this course for free. How it works is you sign up. Either I'll automatically send you the coupon code, or you'll see the coupon code in the course, or you can just send me an email. Hey, Brian, send me that coupon code. I signed up. You're overlooking. Where are you? How does this work? No one's hiding anything from you. I'll get it to you right away. Also, make sure you're checking out the Sales Questions, Brutally Honest Answers podcast, where 7 days a week I answer your toughest sales questions with brutally honest answers. No fluff. They're short, to the point. There's no intro. There's no partners on that. It's all about you. You can hit them real quick every day. Scroll through, get the question that you want, and boom. Also, make sure you're going over to LinkedIn and just follow me on LinkedIn. I've pretty much run out of connections. That's why I'm not responding. I got to clean up my connections. So just follow me there. If you see my videos fly by, you see my smiling, joking face, give it a little thumbs up, a little share, a little comment would be greatly appreciated. And tell one salesperson this week about the brutal truth, will you? Thanks for listening.